back to a brand new episode of Colorful Lives presented by State Farms. If this is your first time tuning in, well, thank you for joining us. I am Angela Yee, and with me, as always, is my Shmoney Team. Shmoney Team, check in.
I'm Aminatu So.
And I am millennial money expert Tanya Rapley.
Of My Fab Finance.
Of My Fab Finance. Yes, don't forget that.
Well, thank you to everybody who came out and showed us love at Essence Fest a couple of weeks back. We had a great time.
Oh my God, Essence this is always a joy.
It was so fun.
The best part really is interacting with everybody because there's a lot of people who listen to Colorful Lives and we appreciate y'all, but it's really great to get to speak with you in person.
Yes, and to eat the food with y'all because the food, oh my God, I love New Orleans for the food.
Yeah, the seasoning. I actually have to diet for about a month now.
I would say I can only do New Orleans twice a year. Like maybe twice a year.
They don't have like a special salad or something that we
No. Salad? New Orleans? No.
I know.
But it definitely
gumbo
was
salad
wonderful.
or something?
Gumbo salad.
Definitely was wonderful to connect with some of you in person.
Well, you know how we always start. We have the accountability check-in. So let's check in. Aminatu, let's start with you.
I bought some running shoes.
I see.
I know.
Laced
look at how good they look. They're like every color.
I saw them when you walked in. I was like, oh, those are fancy.
Love them. They're very comfortable.
Shmoney Run.
That's right. For the Shmoney Run. We're starting sometime soon. Yes, on Thursday.
Well, yes, we have actually already started. So what the point of the whole running team is that we meet once a month, right? And then we all break off into smaller groups or on our own and continue to run at our own convenience. And then when we meet back again every month, we made some progress, you know? So I think like what really inspired me for as far as doing this running team was I had one of my really good friends from college. Her mom was diagnosed with brain cancer. So we always do this run for Voices Against Brain Cancer. And she had never ran before and she had all kinds of asthma issues. And, you know, she's smaller now than she's ever been, even in like high school, college. And she runs and her asthma is like doesn't bother her at all anymore.
Wow.
Right. So it was something
cool.
that she had never run in her entire life, but running for this cause and then keeping it going and then realizing how great it made her felt. And for myself, I never was big on running like that either. So, you know, it just is something that I feel like we need confidence to be able to do because at first I was like embarrassed to go out and run with people that were like, you know, people with crutches were running past me. But you got to build it up.
That's gonna be me. I'm gonna check in to tell you how my progress is going.
And you can always come with me, you know, on our separate occasions. Like I tell you.
Don't you worry. I'm gonna need the accountability. The other thing that I've done is that I've gathered all of my tax information, all of my financial information, and I have a meeting this week with a realtor to talk about home buying.
I'm so excited.
I got all the paperwork together. I checked my credit score. Thank God it's still good.
Yes.
Everything is... I'm going to figure out how much house I can buy one
And you're going
day.
to get pre-approved?
Yes.
Yeah.
You would be surprised, you know.
I'm so, you know, that excites me.
I'm excited.
That's amazing.
I'm like, we'll see.
I want to come look at houses too. I do. I love it. It's fun.
Come look at houses with me. I'm going to be so stressed out.
No, it's so fun. I guess on the house front. So we encountered a hurdle because, you know, I'm happy we're talking about entrepreneurship in this episode because last year when we filed our taxes, we went with someone who, you know, gave us like all deductions that they could. And so now as entrepreneurs, we're going for we had to prove our income. And even though we made significantly more.
Your income was smaller because
of all the deductions. And so we're kind of in that phase where do we want to amend my husband, it's particularly my husband's tax returns. So do we want to amend his tax returns? Do we want to wait till 2018 to file again? So when I get back to Los Angeles, we're kind of working through that with our accountant to figure out what's best. So we're still pushing forward, but there's a caveat to, you know, claiming as many deductions as you can, and it can come back to bite you, and it's biting us right now.
You know, I'm glad that you're talking about that too, because it's such a reminder that everything, everything is long-term planning.
Yep,
so
consequences.
A decision that you made that in the time
to save money,
was to save money, is having consequences on a goal that you have later. And so, you know, like I feel that way in the sense I'm like, I'm going to go get pre-approved, but I know that for me to be comfortable with a deposit, it's not going to happen this year, you know? And so it's like now every financial decision I make is in the, I want to buy a house.
I love that. Listen, I love that goal of wanting to buy a house because I just know what that felt like and how awesome it was, even though I made a lot of sacrifices. Knowing what you're sacrificing for is amazing. And like I said on the last episode, actually going to look at houses when there's no pressure and it's not like I have to move my leases up. It's more like, okay, let me go and do my research because
and get comfortable with the process.
Right, it's so different when you see houses online than when you actually go see them in person and have a realtor walking you through and explaining everything to you. And then, I think, and this is so true. The realtor who I actually ended up using, I walked into my house and she told me this. She said, you'll just get a feeling one time when you walk into a house and you feel like this is yours, you'll have a certain feeling that comes over you that you'll be like, wow. So, that did happen for me and it was amazing. And it actually did end up working out. There were a couple of things, that didn't work out at first, but I think everything happened, the way that it was meant to be. And another thing I was going to say, another piece of advice that I had was you don't have to look at the first house you buy as your only house. Yeah. Look at it as your first house. So if it's an investment and later on, you'll be able to, upgrade, but it's a great investment. Look at it like that. This doesn't have to be like the end all be all. That's how I was looking. Home. That's how I was looking at it at first. Like, this is my house for the rest of my life. Instead, look at it like this is my first house.
It's my starter home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My building block.
I like it. Y'all are giving me confidence.
You got this.
I'm into it.
Yeah. And for my accountability check-in, I actually had a great meeting. I've been working on this docuseries that I want to do that I initiated that I've been actually investing my own time, money, and effort into. And it looks like I'm going to have a partner on it who's going to be excellent. So once everything gets confirmed, I'll let you guys know. But I just am glad that I actually started working on it, started filming it, got my team together, and now I might have a great partner to work on it with me, and went to LA, had the meeting. It's so important to invest into yourself and things that you want to do instead of waiting for somebody to come to you about something or saying, well, I want to do this, but I need to get the money first. Sometimes it's better to try to own something and be able to license it. Yeah. So I'm learning all of those things, but that was really, really exciting for me. So
I saw one of the subjects that we talked about too in your last time we were together, and I was like, "Oh, that's one of the people that Angela was telling me about."
Look at you, good.
All right, good. That's a good sign. Well, we also received a ton of questions from our wonderful listeners. That's y'all all last season using the hashtag #LiveColorful with that extra L at the end. So this season we are going to answer some of your questions as part of each episode. Now this one is from Jessica Ennis at JIBeauty1 who wrote, "I'm a new entrepreneur and I don't know where to start with preparing for taxes. How can I be a step ahead so I'm ready for tax season?"
You're already a step ahead because you're thinking about it. Taxes are really stressful when you're an entrepreneur. If you're like me and you have your own LLC, you're filing tax paperwork pretty much once a month at some point, and then every quarter you're doing some sort of big lift and writing a check to the IRS. I look at hiring a tax preparer as an investment in my business. I'm like, this is
a good one.
Yeah, I was I'm really, really happy with my accountant and my entire accounting team. But it took a while. I talked to a lot of friends who ran their own businesses, and and it does cost money, but that's actually a deduction that you can take. So it's a good investment, and to have somebody who is an expert in the type of business that you have, because even with LLCs, there's different types. It's like, are you an S Corp? Are you a C corporation? Like, can you do your own payroll? Like, all of that stuff, it matters.
Because there are things that if it's simple enough, you could do it yourself.
Yeah, there's online. Some simple, but I mean, it can be complex.
Yeah.
The best advice that somebody gave me when I was starting my business, honestly, was to have a separate bank account for all business expenses. You open that bank account, you have a credit card there, you have a debit card there, and then you don't commingle it with your own personal money. Because when tax time comes, they're going to ask you for everything. And you're going to have to justify everything. But if everything is just one bank account, it's the easiest thing. I just print out every month my statements and I send them to the accountant. I also have a bookkeeper, and so every single expense gets logged, and it's so easy. It makes it so easy, and you just got to think about what your tax burden is and get into the habit of saving. I put 25% of every paycheck that I have just go straight into this is the government money.
Yeah,
I don't even play with it because. you are going to owe money. So whenever you get a check or you get everything, just remember, if it's over $600, you have to pay taxes on it. And so getting in that habit of saving it all, like saving a chunk of it, whether it's 33% or 25%, is going to really, really save your ass down the line.
Tax brackets. Yeah, and just like any time that money is coming in, you know that taxes are going to be involved. Like, you know, just know.
Right.
It's not free money.
I didn't just get a check for $5,000 and that's it.
And the IRS is very good at getting their money. They're very good at getting their money.
They know more than you do about your money half the time. They'll be like, remember you got that check back, at the top of the year?
And if they owe you money, they're not going to hunt you down to give it to you. But when you owe them money, it's a wrap.
And another reason, honestly, to be really organized, like, Tanya, I loved when you showed us your Google Drive, and everything was so organized. I was like, I'm so happy. But part of running a business is being really organized because people you can get audited like really quickly, and you have to justify a lot of expenses and stuff like that. So if you're prepared, you're not going to be scared because you have everything that you need to show. And, and this stuff is complicated. Nobody just knows how to run a business. And, and at the end of the day, the thing that is true, whether you hire somebody or you do it yourself, it's your money and it's your responsibility. So you need to trust the people that you hire to help you manage your money, but you also need to know what everything means that you sign. So,
absolutely. That's critical, knowing what everything means.
Because you can't be like, my accountant screwed me.
Yeah, your accountant's not
liable.
If the IRS comes for you, your accountant is not liable at all. So, it's like, think about it like you're getting an MBA and you need to know what everything is. But really, it's like prepare ahead of time. I'm a January tax club person. I try to do all my taxes in January.
No, girl.
And then
I don't
I'm just
this is me calling my accountant 2 weeks before taxes are due. But I tell you what I do, make sure I do. Now, first of all, I'm going to say when I first started my business, I did make the mistake of not having a separate business account because it was all kind of new to me and I was learning as I went along. But I got incorporated, but then I never opened up the bank account in my, company's name. And so my accountant, I got a really good accountant. And the first thing he told me was you have to do that because it's going to be so much easier for you to actually be able to write things off, when you open up your own account for your business. So I finally opened up my account, which made things a lot easier, a lot more simple for me. I got a credit card, like you said, Amina, for that account so that it was easier for me to make sure that I didn't mix those expenses with my personal expenses. And, everything that I have business related, I pay out of that account. So it's just nice to have those two things separate. And then it was just important for me. I think hiring an accountant that's really good is important because you need to know what you can and can't write off.
Yeah, that's true. Because
there's certain things, Tanya, tell me about it.
Listen, the wrong person. You just don't want the wrong person managing your money.
Because they'll be writing off things you're not supposed to.
Because I learned. Yeah. That's what we're going through right now. But and there are different types of taxes, and it's been, Jessica, things to keep in mind. The most common types of taxes are, income tax, employment tax, excise tax, property tax, sales and use tax, estimated tax.
If you have a merch store like we do, you have to pay taxes on that. And it's so complicated.
That's why it's important to bring in somebody who knows more than you.
For our podcast, when we sold merch last year, it was like, some states we have to pay taxes, and some states we don't have to pay. And you have to know all of that stuff. I did not know that.
Luckily, I don't know which system you use, but some of the systems I use, my checkout, it'll let me know, based on where the person is ordering from, whether or not the taxes, you're responsible for taxes. Because that's the tricky thing about online businesses. You could be in a state where they wouldn't tax, but the person is buying it in a state where they tax. So that's looking for that software to support you. Because, taxes get tricky, and that's why you need someone who's an expert in it. I recommend people DIY a lot of their finances, but not taxes. Right. That's the one thing, because you can actually go to jail over that.
As we've seen.
Yeah, no, people go to jail all the time.
People.
It's the one thing you don't want to play with.
And it's also it's so easy, it's when I think about the checks that I've had to write, for taxes, it's always a big amount. You're writing a $20,000 check, a $40,000 check. It's no fun, but it's also the kind of thing where if you didn't plan, that's literally how you get behind it. You're never going to catch up. Right. Saying that you're going to save $40,000 to give to the IRS.
It's going to come back around.
That's not, that's not going to happen. So it's the kind of thing where if you're not on top of it, you are going to fall so far behind and then you go to jail.
Can't you also make payments?
You can set up a payment plan.
Right, even before your taxes are due, an estimated
You can.
Yeah,
do that.
I pay quarterly estimated taxes,
I'm moving to
and
quarterly.
Yeah, my accountant just started doing that for me.
I got moved to quarterly. I was not a quarterly person.
Quarterly is great. The only thing is that you have to know what the estimation is, and you can actually get a penalty if you underpay. But it's better to pay something than not. So
the penalty will be a lot less.
The other thing about the IRS is there's so many IRS scams, especially when you own a business. If somebody calls you on the phone and tells you that you owe taxes, that's not true. The IRS only communicates with you. They only communicate with you they only communicate with you in writing, and it sounds very scary. But you can seriously call. Like, I've had things fixed. You can call them. It's just like another government agency.
Girl, I hate that IRS mail. I hate.
Oh, can I just say, just yesterday I got a letter from the IRS. I got home and I had a bunch of mail because I was out of town, and there was a thick envelope from the IRS. I was
They were like, Angela,
so
you going to jail.
But I opened it and it just said that I owed. It wasn't even a lot of money, but I guess something must have, from my taxes in 2016, something got reported that I didn't have.
It's like you hold your breath until you
I
open
was
the
like,
envelope.
okay.
I know, but that's mail. That's mail that you got to open.
I know.
You got to open it.
You know what?
And it's timely.
Out of all my mail last night, that was the only thing I did open because I was like, look, I need to face this.
Guy, like,
I gave myself a talk because we do this podcast, and I'm like, I always talk about opening your mail, and so I'm going to actually practice what I preach. And the only thing I opened right then was that, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It's something I have to make sure I take care of, right away. But it wasn't even a lot of money. So.
And it helps you go to bed with a clear conscience. You're not.
I was
about
like, phew, I ain't going to jail.
What's in that envelope? What's in that envelope? Dreaming about it.
Don't get scared.
Now, while we're talking about taxes, did you know that if your business is in an area where there was a major disaster or emergency, you can get a faster refund if you file an amended return and you claim disaster-related losses?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that's available to them, though. And it is important to understand, like, what is disaster-related, and you can probably just contact them and check in with them. Like, if you had a tornado or you had a flood or, a hurricane or something like that, just check in with them to see if that qualifies as a disaster.
Now, I also always say with great risk come great rewards. Now, as a freelancer or a small business owner, you may be unaware of some of the risks of doing business, but there's good news. There's ways to help ensure that you are protected. Like, for example, getting sued. Have either of you ever been sued?
Thank God, no.
Thank God, no.
That's not part of my story.
Knocking on this table.
No.
Well, but part of that, too, is that you just need to figure out what the right business structure for you is. And so for me, I knew that I wanted to set up an LLC because then it separates your own personal liability from your business liability. Mm-hmm. So when Amina LLC gets sued, I don't feel like I'm getting sued.
Right.
It's fine.
It's your entity.
Right. It's my entity. And also, it's also smart for taxes because you get all sorts of different breakdowns. And, the thing about it is that you need to know what all the different types of LLCs are that you can have. It's you can have a sole proprietorship, you can have a general partnership, you can have an S corp, and all of that has repercussions down the line. But again, when I set up my LLC, I went to a lawyer who specializes in doing this, and all in all, with her time setting up the whole thing, it was I think it was $600 or $700.
Is your business registered in New York?
Mm-hmm. My business is registered in New York.
Really, I registered mine. Mine's not registered in New York.
I live here, so
I was living here at the time, but it was just I know that process was where you had to advertise it in a publication and so forth. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go through all that.
I wanted to get my MWBE too, though.
Because you do, and I see. I'm I'm an online entrepreneur, so and then plus I knew I was moving and so forth. I just think that it's important to understand, incorporating a business in your particular location. And I decided to go with the LLC too, just because of the nature of the work that I do. I'm helping people, kind of coaching people, and if something was to go wrong, I'm going to ensure that I do everything that something doesn't go wrong for a client. But you just never know. Someone could get scolded and just decide to try to sue me or sue my company. And so you're not coming for Tanya. You're going to come for not just for profit.
So what is the difference between an LLC, an S corp, a general partnership, and a sole proprietorship?
I'm not an accountant.
I don't even know if it's an accountant.
I thought maybe
LLC just means limited liability. Mm-hmm. So it means that you're pushing off the liability from you personally. So, but sole proprietorship, general partnership, and S corp are different kinds of LLCs that you can have. I have an S corp because in an S corp you can pay yourself a salary. Mm-hmm. So I generate my own W-2. So that's why it's going to be helpful for house buying down the line.
Yeah, it'll be really helpful.
Where I'm so I do payroll every month. But in a lot of LLCs, you don't have to do that. But if you're an S corp specifically, I do payroll, and so I pay myself a salary every month.
And you take taxes out.
And I pay FICA, I pay like Social Security, all of that stuff.
And then you can also give yourself insurance, like health insurance.
And I buy my health insurance that way and all of that stuff. So it also means that for me, like the reason that I wanted to do it is, again, because I was thinking about home ownership down the line. And one of the things that they ask you if you're a freelancer is for like 10 years of, like freelance income and all that stuff. And I was like, well, if I just have a W-2, that cuts down a lot of the paperwork. And I do have a W-2 as an employee of my own thing. And also it just makes it easier to stay. Like the way that I spend money, it just makes it easier for me where I'm like, I have a set salary and then everything else just sits in the bank and then
it does.
So we all have LLCs.
Yeah, we have LLCs.
Yes.
But I will say in the home buying process, if you are a freelancer, you need 2 years. If you're a freelancer, you have your own business, you only need 2 years of your income.
The realtor that I talked to last year told me 10 years.
No. That's like, I mean, the IRS, I think, what's the auditable? I think they can only audit you like up to 6 years.
It's like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, no. 10 years. No, it's 2.
Whatever those Christian forgiveness years are. It's like 7 years and then you don't owe anybody money anymore.
Most people, it's 2 years. So just check. And I mean, that's why it's important to just, I think certain markets are more competitive than others, and maybe New York is like you need to prove that you are
super competitive.
Yeah, that you are a strong candidate, but especially in I don't even want to say a place, but in other places, more rural, less competitive markets too.
And also when the price of the houses matter too.
Yeah, definitely. Like the markets that we live in, homes are not less than $600,000-$700,000.
Right.
Like
that affects the amount of money that you have to put down as well,
and the money you borrow. Like banks are a lot more scrupulous about $700,000 versus $100,000.
A jumbo loan.
Yeah, they're like
going back to one of the things that we talked about earlier about being like super organized. The thing about your LLC is that you have to stay in good standing. So that also means like updating your address, opening the mail that they send you,
paying those fees.
You got to pay those fees because the thing is that like if you don't keep your corporation in good standing, somebody who sues you can go after your personal assets because your LLC is not in good standing. So to be in good standing just means you got to stay current on your fees, your state filings, and then you have to keep good books with a clear distinction between business and personal finances.
So don't think that you're invincible just because you have an LLC or...
It is not a Teflon vest.
Another mistake that I see a lot of people who have LLCs do is that whenever they sign contracts, they don't sign it through the LLC. They sign their name on it. And they don't realize just because you have an LLC doesn't mean that you just say, I have an LLC. Yeah. When you endorse a contract, your LLC has to be made out to your company. It has to be made out.
Employee ID number.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Social Security number. Like sending over your employee ID number instead of your Social Security number. I made that mistake my first year in business as I was sending my Social Security number over. And they were like, my friend pulled me to the side. He was like, listen, honey, no. you have, and I had an employee ID number. I just really didn't know the difference. Like, I just didn't know.
I don't even like my Social Security number out there floating around.
I know.
Right. And I do and sometimes you really don't think about it. I think especially for people like us who we do public speaking and we do, like writing or whatever. But for me, I do pretty much everything under my company name. So even if it's just like I'm writing an article and it's $250, that's what I do. And I'm like, I am an entity that does that.
Well, make sure you visit letstarttoday.com. There's additional resources available there for you. And we're also telling you right here, right now, make sure you talk to an accountant, talk to an attorney, and you can get some help or advice there.
It's an investment in your own business.
It'll actually save you money in the long run.
It'll save you so much money.
And heartache and just concern and amending your taxes and everything.
Yeah, and if you don't set up the right structure for your business, you already made a big mistake there.
And then you don't get the right people.
It's going to come back to haunt you.
Like the wrong structure, the wrong people. You're going to hate your business,
And I highly advise that when you do, like whenever I do my taxes, I go and sit down with my accountant and go through everything with him face to face. I know there's people that just send it in and everything.
Nah, we need to talk about this.
And that's fine, but I like to go and sit down and go over everything and ask him any other additional questions that I might have, just because for me, I like to know what's going on. It's really helpful to me. I want to know everything that you're putting in. What are my write-offs going to be? What do if there's any other questions, at least I'm sitting right there in front of you. You can ask them to me on the spot. I can ask you whatever right there. So I always make sure I take the time to do that.
Agreed. I definitely agree. I'm very hands-on when it comes to my money.
Your money, your responsibility. Always. At Mula Shai on Twitter wrote us using the hashtag #LiveColorful with 2 L's, remember? I'm interested in starting a nonprofit and the grant writing is intimidating. Any advice on seeking grants as a beginner?
Now, last season, we featured a different Amina Daniels, on the podcast. So there were two Aminas. Mm-hmm. She told us the grant money and services that she got from Hatch Detroit and the Motor City Match were crucial to getting her business off the ground. Now, our Amina, in here with us right now, you actually were a grant writer. So give us some advice.
So there is so much free money out there in grants. When I talk to people who administer grants, one of the things that they always say is that they never have enough people who apply for them.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is that they don't, they don't do marketing and publicity right. And so that's why you don't know. But you should know, especially if you are a young woman, there are a lot of people who want to give you money. And if you're a person of color, there are also a lot of people who want to give you money. And if you're neither of those things, there are also a lot of people who want to give you money. So
there's money.
One of the first places that you can go to is to google.com. And just look up the grants in your area. You can also go to grants.gov that is actually administered by the government, and you can find out so much more. Amina Daniels that we had on the podcast last year, for example, talked about the Hatch Detroit and the Motor City Match that she got, and that's how she was able to get her business off the ground. And, so for young entrepreneurs, there are many, many ways that you can do this. Grant writing, it is intimidating, you're right, but there are a lot of resources online to teach you how to do it right. And like anything else, it's just a lot of technical writing. You can learn it. If people, random people like me can do it, you can do it.
You're not a random person. Get out of here.
Yeah, but, it's not that scary. It's just a lot of paperwork. And again, a lot of it is just about, staying organized and being on top of it. If you are very, very, very intimidated, there are actually grant writers that you can hire. And depending on where you live, it can be not that expensive. And even if it is, sometimes the money can come out of the grant.
You're about to get a grant.
Yeah,
Hello.
it might be someone who just really believes in your business. A lot of times people are just really connected to the idea. Some people definitely want to get paid for it. Some people might want to test out their grant writing skills and so forth. And I know that, so my previous life before MyFab Finance, I worked at a nonprofit, my undergrad degree is in public administration. So we did a lot of grant writing at the YWCA where I worked at. And it was just one of those, in my last job too, and it was just being very clear. One thing I found in the grant writing process is a lot of people want to add a lot of fluff. And it's being very clear.
Let's get right to it.
This is what you're going to get from giving us money. This is how the money is going to get used. This is why the money is needed and so forth. They don't need that whole sob story. They just want to know how you're going to use their money, what you're going to use the money for.
And you're an entrepreneur, so it means that you're actually doing good for your city. So the other thing is, know the people in your city hall. A lot of grant writing, honestly, is just networking and talking to people.
They ask you to go apply for something. Just to make this formal.
Go to city hall. Go to your local chamber of commerce. Meet the people who administer your town. The SBA, the Small Business Administration. Also, there's so many resources
there. They've been helping me.
There's so many resources that you can get. And so I say either pick up the phone or actually go to these offices. They want to help you. And
a lot of times they'll have classes and everything that are free, and people that can actually sit down with you and go through the whole process with you.
Right. And there are also a lot of seminars. If you just type in your city plus entrepreneur plus grant, a lot in Google, a lot of things will come up.
And you guys pay for the SBA services in your taxes, so
you might as well take advantage of it. You're giving up free money on two ways. You're giving up free money by not applying for grants, and you are supporting those services that help people get grants. And so it's
here are some really easy grants actually that anybody can look into. The Amber Grant was started to help women achieve their entrepreneurial dreams. Every month, one winner is given a $500 grant, and at the end of the year, one of the 12 winners is awarded an additional $1,000. That's $1,500 that you did not have before. There is also the potential opportunity to get further angel investors and mentors. The application only requires giving a small introduction of your business or idea. That's so easy.
Right.
That's so easy. The National Association for Self-Employment, NASE Growth Grants program allows business owners to apply for financing a particular small business need. Past recipients use funds to purchase computers, hire part-time help, and create marketing materials. I could use this grant.
And then there's a Dare to Dream grant that encourages students to move through business creation process by offering business development seminars and up to $10,000 in funding. That's a lot of money for a student.
So there's grants everywhere. The trick is to just dig and network. Do the work, okay? The money's not going to just fall out of the sky into your lap. Visit your local municipality, chamber of commerce, or small business administration for grant resources. There are grants for those in the transportation industry, in the rural communities, all over the place.
Everything. There's a grant for everything.
Go to grants.gov again. Grants.gov.
So in our last episode, we had a list asked about going baby, and buy a home.
Woo! Woo! Sorry, that deserves a woo!
Goals!
Melisa is a certified financial education instructor, a student loan expert, and the creator of YourMoneyWorth.com, where she offers financial resources to millennials in the United States and the Caribbean to get rid of debt and build a positive net worth. Hello, Melisa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Melisa. Now, we want to start by getting into your financial journey. In this episode, we talked a lot about assets versus liabilities. Student loans are something that can be both. So can you break down some of the different types of loans that you had and how they compare?
Well, I had all of the loans. So I had federal unsubsidized student loans, federal subsidized student loans, and an international private student loan from the Caribbean, and a U.S. private student loan from Liabilities.
Can you tell us what the difference is between the U.S. student loans and the Caribbean student loans?
So the structure is basically the same as a private regular U.S. student loan. So you go to the lender, they underwrite the loan based on your credit worthiness, and then they offer you the student loan to pay for your education. The main difference is in the Caribbean, your student loan has to be secured with some type of collateral. So that usually means both having co-signers, such as your parents or some other family member, and putting up property. So, for example, the loan would be, have a lien against your home, or if you have land, or if you have some cash or investments, you have to actually provide those collateral to secure the loan in the Caribbean student loan.
That's scary.
I know. So basically, if you don't have any assets, you don't get student loans in the Caribbean?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And that presents a big problem because you need the student loan, to leverage that to get a higher education. And the student loan system was created really to expand the access to higher education for Caribbean people. But the people who really need the help is the ones who don't have the assets. Then that presents a challenge for them financing education and basically using that to, increase their earning potential.
Absolutely.
You sound like somebody who obviously had a plan from the very, very beginning to tackle all of this. Can you walk us through what you were thinking when you got the debt, and then once it was time to start paying up, how you tackled that?
When I graduated from undergrad in 2007, there were no income-based repayment plans at that point. The only thing that was offered was to consolidate your federal student loans, and then I had these other private loans as well. So I just started by figuring out, what do I actually owe? Who do I owe it to? There are all these different loans, especially when it comes to federal student loans, because you're issued loans every semester. So when you graduate, you have all these different accounts. So I consolidated my loans. And what's funny is during the consolidation of my federal student loans, I tracked down all these different loans and I submitted my application. And then I realized that, hey, there's another student loan, federal student loan that I didn't include. Oh, no. And I went back and I had to update my application and say, this is an additional federal student loan. And the representative on the phone was like, wow, you had another loan? So, I just feel that to show, the effort it took to even just start the first step of finding and tracking down what I owe.
That's stressful.
Yeah, because I know things move fast when you're in school and you don't think about repaying them, and they're just like, well, you need this, and you just signing paperwork, and before you know it, you have all these loans everywhere.
Right, and we were all told that it was an investment. The other thing, too, is she says that, Melisa, you say that you graduated in 2007, which is exactly when the recession started. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the year that I graduated.
It's a scary, stressful situation.
So I really love that advice that you gave about looking at, looking at schools that you can afford versus schools that you think that you should be going to, and thinking about the finances of that up front.
Now, we're also taping this episode a few weeks after graduation season. There was a post on your blog where you suggested some ways that grads can save and invest their cash gifts. Can you take us through some of those?
Investing of cash gifts.
So,
I hadn't even thought about that.
I love sharing that because when I graduated in 2007, I was an immigrant student. I didn't really have my immediate family, with me. And, of course, I didn't know much. Outside of taking on these student loans, I didn't know much about the other side of finances, which is investing, making your money grow outside of just a savings account. And I had a classmate, and she actually said to me, you know, my parents gave me a Roth IRA for graduation. And I said, what is that? And, you know, that in the post, I share that, you know, when you get cash gifts for graduation, it's a celebratory season. You know, you've worked hard, and you might be tempted to just, you know, blow that money. You know, of course, you deserve to do that. But, you know, I share that you can use those funds to help you build up, you know, a small emergency fund as you're kind of launching on your own. And you can also take some of that money, you know, any gifts that you get in cash to start your own Roth IRA if you're not as fortunate as my friend who parents could have funded that for them outright. Also, you know, you're going to be moving maybe to a new city, so you can use some of those funds as well to build up your funds for moving into a new apartment, if you need, you know, security deposit and things of that nature. And, you know, just, of course, use some to have some fun with, but some of those steps you can use to kind of jumpstart your investing and saving and putting yourself on the right financial footing out of college.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, most of us, I don't know about you guys, but when I got my graduation money, it was like, I don't know what I bought.
Listen,
I did not get any graduation money, so I don't understand what all of you people are talking about.
when I got I remember my graduation money, I got a check for $2,000 from my grandfather. It was the most money I ever had at one time in my life.
Yes.
But I was in debt, like way more than that, so I ended up having to take all that money. And I'm glad that I did take it to pay off my credit cards because I could have just spent it, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to just start over at zero again and get rid of some of that stress.
No, I was an international student with from a poor family. I got no graduation money.
I did get some
nothing. Can you tell us about the Money Massive crew?
The Money Massive
You
crew.
gotta say it with an accent. I don't want to say
I'm not. Listen.
The Money Massive crew.
Anytime I try to do a Caribbean accent, it sounds like an Irish accent. So I'm not gonna do it.
I'm half Caribbean, but
I can say bloop, bloop, bloop. That's all I got. Money Massive crew.
Tell us about the
bloop, bloop, bloop.
air horn.
The Money Massive crew is just
Money Massive crew.
Money Massive is just a community of millennials who, you know, are focused on leveraging the education that they've worked so hard to achieve to increase their knowledge about money and really focus on building a positive network. The Money Massive School, you know, we are focused on earning more in interest than we pay and really building a positive network over time.
I love that. Earning more interest than we pay.
How are you leveraging Caribbean culture to foster positive money habits?
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
So in Caribbean culture, we don't learn a lot about investing, and we don't have as much access to investing in the stock market and so on. But the lessons that I learned from my Caribbean culture is a sort of aversion to debt. Not that you don't use debt and you don't leverage it, but debt is a tool and it's something that you owe that you should definitely prioritize and pay it off. So, you know, I always remember my father saying, you know, I don't want to owe anybody. So whatever I owe, I need to prioritize it and pay it off quickly. And then, you know, the money that I was owing, you know, I have that to use for myself. Another thing that I use for my Caribbean culture is pooling resources across households. So in the Caribbean, of course, we have nuclear families, but we really operate, across our extended families. So it was not uncommon for my aunt to be providing childcare for me after school, and then my mother, you know, providing maybe school resources for another aunt or another cousin. So by pooling our resources for childcare and even financially when there's one family member who's going through a financial crisis, that really strengthens how you can weather those financial storms. And even living here in the U.S., after I finished graduate school and went on to start my career, my family actually migrated from St. Kitts and Nevis in the Caribbean to the U.S. in the middle of the recession as well, and they weren't able to get jobs right away. So I actually helped to support them and pay their rent while I was working. But then when I had my son, my father actually provided childcare for me when I went back to work initially. So just using that culture of spreading your resources across different households to go through those financial tough times.
And my grandfather was always saying, save your money, buy a house, save your money, buy a house. That was always his thing. And I remember growing up, my grandfather definitely owned his house, left it to my mom when he moved back to the Caribbean and, built a house there. And that's what he always said to me was, when are you going to buy a house? Stop paying rent, buy a house. It was always ingrained in me.
Yeah, I think
yes, Caribbean people have a very strong, we believe in owning land and owning property. And, that is something that we definitely strive for, is owning land and property and having a place of your own, for sure.
That's important because I feel like in the U.S. we have a culture of debt where it's like debt is okay and it becomes a way of life. So I think that's important. I think that's something that people could learn from our immigrant friends and family members. So, well, Melisa, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your money journey with us. Let everyone know where they can connect with you online.
You can connect with me at YourMoneyWorth.com. Right on the homepage, you can join the Money Matters School there. And I'm so happy to join this conversation, and thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much, Melisa. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Well, that's all we got time for this week. I'm going to miss you guys.
I know.
For more info on liabilities and taxes, visit letstarttoday.com and search liabilities and taxes. Okay? Could it be any more simple? If you want more information on liabilities and taxes, then search it on letstarttoday.com.
All the things I don't want to know about.
And could you please continue to send us your questions and comments using the Live Colorful 2Ls hashtag? And we may use them on an upcoming episode. You can also email us at colorfullivespod, POD, @gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail on the Colorful Lifeline at 646-580-0576.
If we use your question, we'll send you a signed copy of Tanya Rapley's new book, The Money Manual.
Oh, I'm writing a question in.
I know. I'm writing a question in, too.
Oh, my gosh.
I need a book.
ColorfulLivesPod@gmail.com. Okay.
We'll have new episodes dropping every Wednesday all summer long, so don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SoundCloud to be the first to hear brand new episodes when they drop. Colorful Lives, presented by State Farm, is a Loudspeakers Studios production. Our executive producers are Matt Raz and Chris Murrow. The show is engineered and edited by Dwayne Crawford. For more information on Colorful Lives and other Loudspeakers podcasts, follow at LSN Podcasts on Twitter or Loudspeakers Network on Instagram.